So now you can go through and you can see this is recipient 1, 2. You can just step right through your letters. You can see how they're addressed. You can see if there's any errors before you spend 35 cents on a color
So
copy.
if you want to close up the gap between the name and the address, what do you do?
Oh, you can just when you go to set up your fields, you can change that spacing in the address block. So that's as simple as it is. It's just a step-by-step process. You just step right through. And this can do it with a CSV file. It can do it with a .xls file. I like to always open my CSV files in Excel and then turn around and save them as a .xls, and it keeps everything Microsoft, and it seems like it eliminates some of the glitches I otherwise might run into. Okay.
And then when you hit print, will it just automatically print consecutive ones?
Yep, exactly. And then you can go up here too, and you can pick whether I want to print envelopes, and I can create envelopes. And you can pick what type of envelopes, so you can pick sizes, you can pick which format they're going to go into the printer, you can pick different label styles, all of this, so it's all set up.
Do you have to have a special file, or can we pull this out of Outlook that we have in our...
So Outlook is a little different process, but very similar, and if we've got Outlook, I can show you that here as well. But basically in Outlook, you just go to create mailings, and it'll automatically start Word, and it will automatically use the data that you picked in Outlook as your data file. So then everything I just showed you is still the same process. Okay.
Or you can just export to an XLS file, right?
Yes. Except the trouble with exporting to a .xls file is a lot of times you might get a lot more data than you need. Whereas if you mail merge directly from Outlook, you can pick one of your categories, like future buyers or past clients or calendar list, and it'll be a much more targeted list with less data to go through. Like with Jana, you'd have to have Excel sort through 1,200 names. So, but yeah, very easy to do. So that is the basics of mail merging, and you can then, doesn't matter, anything that you can put up in Word that you can put an address field in, you can mail merge. So you can do pre-done John L. Scott, info sheets, whatever.
So Brian, so you got your letter, what if you want dear so-and-so? Is that in that step process when you were going down and doing that?
Yeah, so actually here, if you want to put in a greeting line,
yeah,
you would go, so just insert your address line or your greeting line, dear so-and-so, this is the format it's going to be. And it even gives you a default, so if you didn't have a name, it would say dear sir or madam. Okay. And then if you go to previewing your letters, now you can see it shows dear Ernest Lockwood. Okay. So, how else can you get data that you can use for your mailings? This is probably another thing that we work on, and we strategize what we're going to send to, what kind of materials we're going to send. The MLS is really a great thing. I'm going to do a search. I'm going to show you exactly how you can get your data, and then I'm going to show you another place to get data that I think a lot of people forget about, or maybe didn't even know. So let's just say we're going to do a general search, and I'm going to look at, say, expired listings in Paulsbo. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's say I'm going to do expireds. I'm going to pick Paulsbo. I'm going to try to limit the number here, so let's just go from...
You only have 53.
So now we've got 15. Okay, so we go ahead and search. Now, you see this little export down here? This is where you can export this entire list into a data file. So we're going to go ahead and, I'm just going to go ahead and check all 15. I think it does it without even checking them, but let's just go ahead and export them.
To data file now, did you, at this point, did you pick what the data file is? X, Y, Z, WNB,
No.
whatever there?
No, but it puts them into a CSV.
Okay, that's what I meant. On that, it puts them in the CSV.
Yeah. Now, these are the type of exports you can get, and you can do a drop-down list. Expired residential, this is probably your best choice because this is one that doesn't have a lot of other garbage. If you look at other options they've got that are pre-done, they've got all these different types of exports that are designed for different types of tools. Some of these you can use with Excel. Some of them have stuff you don't need. If you just use the very basic expired residential, then what you can do is you can edit your custom export, and you can pick which fields you want included in the data that gets exported. So in mine, I went ahead and just picked a few things. Mainly the ones you care about are address, names, maybe the price, things like that. And you save your custom export. If you want to add a field or remove a field, you can just take it, remove it. So now these are the fields here that are going to be included in the export. Save your export parameters, and now just go ahead and export. And see here it's going to tell you expired residential.csv, and we're going to save it. I'm not sure where it's saving it on this computer.
Where's it saving it to?
Well, that's a good question.
Okay.
Usually it's in their box that comes up or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Let's see. There we go. Let's try to export.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and open it just for, normally you're going to have a box that will say where you want to save it to your desktop or a directory, but I'm going to go ahead and open it because it's going to open it in Excel. And so here's your Excel file. Okay. And from here, we can just go save as, and you can save it as a workbook and put it on in your documents. Probably that's where it went. I'm just going to put it on the desktop.
Brian, what's that little yellow thing that you click when you, so when you do a save as, and it says either my documents or the desktop, and there's a little yellow envelope that you click?
Let's see.
Because you did it really fast.
Here?
Oh, when you went up a level.
When you went up a level.
So it defaulted to a directory, my documents. So the computer set up here on Frank's to save it to my documents. I just decided to make it go to the desktop, so I just clicked the up arrow. And what's nice about the desktop is it's the highest level, so you just keep clicking the up until you get to the desktop, and now you know it's easy to find.
Okay.
So here's your data file. Now, the problem with an MLS export is that if the agent didn't put the client's full name, you don't have their name, you may not have their actual mailing address, they may live somewhere else besides the house that's the property. You don't know if all of these are back on the market yet. So from here, there's a lot of work you have to do. You have to go back in and check and see if the property is relisted before you send the mailing. And what I always do here is I insert some additional fields. So I just add about 6 fields. And then I name them. So this would be like, first, last, etc. for owner first, owner last, address.
Oh.
And then, so those are going to become my merge fields when I do a mailing. I will use that for the first name, like when I set up and showed you how to set the merge fields. And then those would be populated into the mailing.
So if you were going to do a deal for their address, because you said the address might not be on there, how many fields would you need to put in for their address?
It depends how you want it segmented. You can have as few as one, where you could have, number, street, direction, all in one line. But generally an address is going to be, the address, so 2932 any street, and then city, state, zip. So
2 fields.
So it'd be one field for the address, one for city, one for state, one for zip. So address,
You mean
city,
the
state,
city
zip.
would be one field, the
Yes.
state would be one field?
Yes.
Oh, because that's right.
Okay. Now, so this is useful, but now what you need to do is you need to go back into the MLS, and on each one of these listings, so on each one of these listings that popped up, now you can go right here into the tax ID, and if it's got a good number and it pulls up the info, here's where you can get your name and your address. This is what you will then type into the Excel document for your mailing. So I'm not going to belabor that point.
That doesn't have the history icon in that display, does it?
It should have something. Apparently not here, no.
It's too bad, because if it did, you'd be able to
Yes,
check.
it does. Right?
Okay, so now you can check whether it's on the MLS or not.
Correct. You can
Does it
see
have to?
the status of it, and then you can then check for their mailing address and name, and then you can manually type that into your document. But there's a slicker way to do farming. And rather than going to the title company and paying for data from the title company, the MLS through Realist gives you a free way to farm. So you see there's a thing here called Export Manager. And what you can do, and I'm just going to do an example. I'm going to do a general query. And you can query by subdivision, you can query by tax parcel ID, and you can use wildcard characters, so you can do a part of a tax number with an asterisk, so you can narrow down a search to a certain division. In this case, I'll just say type in Applewood. Just happens to be a division I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And here it populated all of there's 48 properties that came up in Applewood. So now if I want to do a mailing, I can export. Okay, select Excel. Export. So the request will be available in the Export Manager. So the way this works is it kind of queues it up, and if there's a lot of people getting exports, it'll put it into the Export Manager, and then you go to the Export Manager and you pick up your file. And so this is going to be from today. Here it is.
Is there a limit on how many you can get
Yep, they'll give you 5,000 per month
per month?
for free.
Oh, 5,000 reports? That's a lot.
Yeah.
Reports or
Names,
field?
fields, 5,000 records.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I ask, is that you communicate with 5,000 people a month.